Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Mondays with Michele video. This is part 2 of a 3-part video series from July 2024 on the National Library of Scotland Maps website. Part 2 demonstrates how to use Map Finder with marker pin and Map Finder with outlines. I will also demonstrate the Geo-referenced Maps, side-by-side viewer, Browse by MapMaker, and Boundary Viewer features. Let's get started. This is the home page of the Maps section of the National Library of Scotland website. And I commented last week when we looked at the range of information available, even though this is the National Library of Scotland website, and they certainly have an awful lot of maps that are specific to Scotland. They also have an awful lot of maps for all of the UK and for other parts of the world. So don't think that just because you don't have ancestors in Scotland, don't discount this website. It is still well worth exploring it, as it has all kinds of specialty maps for various parts of the world. So what we're going to do today is look at some of the features of how you can use this website and work with the maps. So the most common way of viewing a map is using this Map Finder with marker pin, this first little square here. So if I click that, it brings me to this particular screen. These buttons up at the top, think of them as your key functions for the types of map displays that you're going to want to do. And you'll see me use these different options. Right now, we're in the Find a Map using the marker pin. You'll also notice we have two little data boxes. We've got this one called Search and this other one labeled Filter by Date. And I think I'll just turn my pointer off for a minute. So if we're looking at this search one, if you close this box down, it turns into a magnifying glass. So to bring that box back up, you just click the magnifying glass. Similarly, with this Filter by Date box, just click the little X, it closes it down. And sometimes on some of the screens, it turns into a stack of paper icon. In this case, it's got the words Filter Maps. You just click on it and it brings up that screen again. So for now, I'll leave both of these open. You also have a plus and minus sign at the bottom left of the screen, which allows you to zoom in or zoom out. So if I click the plus sign, it will zoom me in. I can also zoom in by hovering over the map with my mouse. And if your mouse has one of those zoom wheels, that's what I use. I just use the zoom wheel to zoom in and out. So a lot of ways you can actually access your map. Now, something else you can do, we have this little drop down at the top where it says background map. And you can change that. So right now it's a topographical map. That's what the default is. But you could change it to something that looks like the satellite aerial view. So as you zoom in, it will give you can see the streets, you can see houses, depending on what area you're looking at. I like using the OpenStreetMap, which is like Google Maps. It would help if I was actually in a populated area. So let's look here, for example. So this is your modern Google Maps. So you can change that background map to whatever you want. So for instance, if I go back to that satellite map, you can see this is like your Google Earth view. It's your view from above, and you can drill down and see the street. So as I said, I'll go back to the OpenStreetMap. The reason I like using something like a modern OpenStreetMap as the background is if I'm looking for a particular place, I can literally zoom out and click on it and put that marker pin. And you notice wherever I click, watch what happens to the list of maps on the right here. So if I now click on Newcastle, do you see it's updating and giving me a different list of maps? If I click on Glasgow, so what it's doing is wherever you click and put that marker pin, the program is figuring out which of the many maps in its collection would cover that point. So that's one way of getting a list of maps that would cover the area you want. The other way, instead of just zooming in and clicking on a particular place, so for example, I could click on Hull. Or I can go up to this search box and I could type a modern place name. And you notice I could type it for the UK, or I could specify a place anywhere else in the world. And if it has a map that covers that area, it will put a pin on that place. So if I typed in something like Scarborough, you notice the minute I start typing, it gives me a drop-down list. It's really important to select the appropriate matching entry from this list, because that's how the program is going to link what you've typed to their map. So I would click on this first entry, and you notice on the right, it's now showing me various maps. I've got 19 large scale maps listed on the right here. And I can look at them. We've got ordnance survey maps. This one is town plans. So let's say I want to actually select this map. I would click it, and it will show me this town plan map. And I can enlarge it. I can minimize it. I can also, if you look at the bottom left of the screen, I can also download an image of this map. So with all of the maps on this website, you can order high quality images, but you pay for that. In addition, if you wanted to order a map, you could, and you would just click the link in the top right of the screen here where it says order this map. But if you don't want to pay for their high quality image, you also have the option to download a PDF image of whatever shows on your screen. You can also take a screenshot. That is all within the usage license for this website. So that's really handy. Now, if we go back to this main screen, there's a few other things you can do. So if we now look at this second data entry box that says filter by date, right now it's saying we're going to look at all the maps that have Scarborough. You notice it says all maps, but I could say, let's look at just coastal charts. Are there coastal charts? Nope, not showing Scarborough. Makes sense. Are there just topographic maps? Yes, there are actually two. There are two topographic maps for that area. So you can limit what's shown in your search results just by selecting different categories. If I said, give me all the non-ordnance survey, here's one. Or I could say, give me the ordnance survey maps. So that's kind of a handy feature. Now, what they also have is outlines. So if I go back up to the top of this screen, we were using marker pins. If I now say, let's look at maps with outlines, and I'm going to zoom out. What this is doing is drawing a grid over the areas of the map that would equate to a lot of those ordnance map series. So you can select a particular grid. And it's showing you all the maps now on the right are the ones that are covered by this small grid that I clicked in or by the larger square in blue. So again, it's another way of specifying your search. Let's go back to marker pin for a minute. So we talked about how we can locate a place, and I'll just switch the background map to OpenStreet. So we can click on a place. We can also type in a name. So I'll type in Hull, and it's Kingston upon Hull that I want. We can also type in a national grid reference or latitude, longitude, or a British postcode if you're searching somewhere in the UK, or Scotland. So I thought, let's type in latitude, longitude. So what I did, I opened up a normal Google Street Map, and one of the Renton families I was researching lived at this particular address. So here's the address where this red dot is. If I right-click that spot on the map, you notice it's giving me the latitude and longitude. So if I click that, it's now copied it to my clipboard. If I go back to Map Finder and I just paste those coordinates in and click Go, take a look. It is now clicked. It's found that point on the map. So that's another way you can locate specific information on a map is by the latitude and longitude. And then you can do your same type of filtering that I just showed you. You can do all of those same features. You can change your background map. It's no different than if you had typed in a location, or if you had just clicked somewhere on the map to use a marker pin. So that's the basics of being able to just look at the maps once you have established a place, either by using a marker pin, by typing the name of the place, by typing in the latitude and longitude. But there is a lot more that you can do. What I found really interesting was using Geo-referenced Maps. So you notice we've got that marker pin. We've got outlines, which I showed you. We've also got these two up here, Geo-referenced and side by side. So let's look first at Geo-referenced. So if I click Geo-referenced Maps, what this does is, I'm going to just scroll down. Okay, what we're looking at here is we have our map of Edinburgh. It's a 1-inch Scotland 1885 to 1903 map, an Ordnance Survey map. That's what's shown just at the top here. That is set up as an overlay on top of that world image map. So down at the bottom of the screen, this says where you would choose your map overlay. You notice there's this slider that says change the transparency. Watch what happens when I slide it to the left. The overlay, which is my historical map, is fading, and I can see that Google Earth style map. So if I change this, so my background map is the Open Street modern map, and I zoom in, and now I put that transparency back, I can see what it looks like on this historical map. And I'm going to pick a slightly different overlay. Let's pick this one here. An Ordnance Survey 1 to 500 map from 1880s to 1890s. That one's a little easier on the eyes. So here is the overlay. This is my historical map. If I want to compare it to the modern map, this is my Google Earth map today, or my Open Street map today, kind of like Google Maps. So that is a really handy feature. Now, there are some other things you can do, but there are two icons. This one of them is measuring tools, and then you've got this little pencil icon, which is the draw, trace, edit. So if I click on that draw, trace, edit, there's now this dialog box of different tools. And I can do things like add a marker. So let's say I wanted to show where my ancestor was living. I could literally pin the spot. I just click on that little symbol and then click on the map where I want to put the dot. Maybe I've got another ancestor living there. I can also choose to draw a box or a shape around something. So maybe I want to actually show a border around the area where my ancestor lived or worked. So I can click this symbol that says draw lines, And the trick with this is you are clicking for every corner of your shape. So if I wanted to box the area where these two markers are, I might click here and see how it's basically creating a line. And wherever I want to stop and make a corner, I click again. And now I can go down, click again, click again. And when I'm finished, instead of just clicking once, I'll double click. And that way it cuts off that shape. So now I just have my normal cursor. So I no longer want to draw lines. I can deselect that. But maybe I want to add some text. So I click on the letter A here where it says write text. And I'm going to label this as where my Renton ancestors lived in 1881. Maybe I got that from the census. And then I'll just click. And you notice it's put this text right on the map. And I'll just deselect it. But maybe that's not where I want that text to be. We can edit that. So this symbol under Edit Features, if I now click my text box, it turns it into a dot, and I can hold my left mouse button down and drag it and reposition that text wherever I want. I can also change the color of things. This symbol is a color palette. So if I now click on one of these shapes, if I select a shape, let me go in and edit a shape, and now click color, double click the shape, and I want to change the color. So I'll just click on that yellow square, and maybe I want to make it blue. So I can click on this bar of colors and then click anywhere inside. And when I get what I want, I just click Apply to Object, and it's changed it to a blue shape. So those are some of the things you can do. And what's nice about this, I'm just going to close down that Draw Trace feature box. What's nice about this is there's this little icon at the bottom left of your screen, right beside the plus minus. That is your print save image. So if I wanted to print a copy of this, what I would do is close down these other dialog boxes so they're not getting in the way. And I would click Print Save Image. And it is giving me an image. I could change it to landscape instead of portrait to see what I wanted. This is what will print. And if I click print, the nice thing is I can print it to a PDF file. So I now have a customized map that I have added my own annotations to help explain my ancestors' story. So I think that is a really interesting feature. They also have measuring tools. So if I click on that and hover over, we have this bottom one says measure distance. So if I click it, and let's say I want to measure the length of this building. I can click here, and you notice it is literally doing a dotted line. I click again, that's the distance. And if I wanted to click some more, and if I'm finished, double click. And it is giving the distance in both feet and meters for that path that I drew. So those are just a few of the useful features to do with some of these maps. So no matter what type of map you're looking at, look for those different icons in the top right. They're not available for all of the maps, but they're available for a lot of the different functions. This pencil, which allows you to annotate the map, and this measure tools icon. So we've talked about the geo-referenced maps, and that's the nice thing, is these are maps where they have created a one-to-one match to the historical map and a modern map, so that you can literally lay one on top of the other. You can also look at the map and the overlay side by side. So if we click the side by side icon up top, you are getting two maps. So what we're seeing on the right is that satellite view. And I can change the view. Right now, it's the satellite one. The world imagery. Again, I could change it to an open street map, like a Google map. And on the left is my town plan, 1840s to 1890s, the map we were just looking at. But now I've got it side by side. And the interesting thing about this map, take a look. I'll use the pointer because it'll be easier for you to see. Notice my cursor on the left. You notice there's a plus sign in the exact same position for the map that's on the right. So here, Science Garden, that's the same area, or not Science, Cien's Garden. It's the same area on the map on the right. So whereas with the geo-referenced map, you had a slider that you could fade out the overlay and see the background map underneath. In this one, you're seeing your background map right beside your historical map, and your cursor will identify the spot on both maps so that you can see where it is you are looking. And if you zoom in on one, it zooms in on the other. And you've got your same annotation tools and measuring tools. So that is something that's handy. This one does not have the print button right on the screen, but you could use your screen print or screen capture features to take a picture of the map if you wanted to. Now, to get back to the home page, you can either click Map Images or Maps Home. So if I click Map Images, it takes me to this screen. If I click Maps Home, it takes you to the same place. So by navigating through those various map icons at the top of your screen, we actually looked at the outlines, the marker pin, the geo-reference, and the side-by-side, all without coming back to this home page. But you could also go into them from these different icons. So there's just two more things I want to show you. Browse by MapMaker. The nice thing about this is you could look for maps by a particular person or company. So if we go to the G's, we could look at the GOAD maps. Those were the fire insurance maps. And what you want to do, if at all possible, is look at them using a graphic index. And what I'm going to do is scroll down. These are the list of all the maps they have. We're going to look at the plan of Edinburgh using the graphic index, because this allows me to just click on the particular area that I'm interested in. So what's nice is, again, you can change the transparency. I can go in and look at the details of the GOAT insurance map for a particular area. So that can be really useful because this is the particular map that we're looking at, the 1906. And you can, again, change your transparency layers. So if I change this to a modern OpenStreet map, then it becomes really obvious. This is a modern map. And this will be, we've got the modern map. And if I want to, this is changing the transparency of the boxes, sorry. Let me look. Let me change that. And this is showing your GOAT map details. So that's something that is kind of handy. And if we go back to the map images, we talked about being able to look at maps by MapMaker. The last one I want to show you is the boundaries viewer. That's really interesting. This is showing you the administrative boundaries. So for example, if we look at Edinburgh, right now this is defaulting to Scotland boundaries. And you notice when I click in Edinburgh, it's showing the blue outline and it's saying it's City of Edinburgh is what's showing. And I've got a bunch of different sliders here. I can make the background map transparent. So maybe what I want to print, because the little print icon is here, maybe I want to print is just an outline map showing the boundaries. And right now, the date of the boundary is 2021, but I could change that. I can say, I want what were the boundaries in the 1950s. And you notice now I've got the blue, but I've also got these little red areas. So if I click on City Parish of Edinburgh, that's highlighted in red. That's the parish. Then I've got the county boundary is blue. So if I select Leith, that's the parish. It's part of the county of Edinburgh. I can also choose to remove all the boundaries for the adjoining areas. So if I take this boundary slider, look at what's happening. All you can see is what I have selected. So I might choose to make the others lighter so I can still read them, but now it's really showing the area that I'm interested in bold. And I could also go even further back. I could look at the boundaries from the 1840s to the 1880s and similarly click on an area. and see the data. They also have, in this particular case, they've also linked in Edinburgh boundaries. And if I click on that, it is showing a much more detailed boundary map with all kinds of areas. And the neat thing is, if I click on an area, it'll show you the period of time that that was a particular administrative unit. The last thing I will show you, there is a help page that gives you details on how to purchase the images, links to copyright. What I did want to point out, if you scroll down, it does talk about, here it says the print PDF tab will create a landscape PDF of your current map view. It also talks about the fact that you can create your own digital images using screen captures. So it's worth looking at this page just so that you're clear on what their copyright rules are, but it is pretty lenient. I found for most things, you are able to take copies of what you see on these maps. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.